Good.
All right, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Paradyme Podcast. This episode, we're going to be talking about Chapter 10, titled The Empowerment of Failure, from David Goggins' book, Can't Hurt Me. We highly recommend you pick it up. Great book. So we want to talk about what our favorite parts were and why of this chapter.
Yeah. Let me find mine real quick. Oh, yeah, I got it. So I'll go first, and we can just go this way, just so it makes it easier. So there's a part where I forget what he's talking about, but he kind of throws in. I don't know if you guys realize what he like. I feel like throughout this chapter, he would throw in these like really motivational phrases and these paragraphs, and I felt like this one was just one that stuck out to me. But he talks about how a lot of us surround ourselves with people who speak to our desire for comfort, people who would rather treat the pain of our wounds and prevent further injury than help us callous over them and try again. He has an example where he fails his Guinness World Record pull-up challenge, and his mom's there, being like, she's there in the crowd supporting him, and she doesn't look to him when he fails the challenge and says, okay, well, you lost, just chuck it up for whenever, you want to do it again. Her statement to him, or her question was, when's the next time when are you going to be out here again? Expecting him to have an answer for the date. And what I found significance in that paragraph, or that statement, was I think a lot of us do find, as humans, we find comfort in people that we like, and people that give us that validation, that comfort, because that's what we're looking for a lot of our lives. And then once we find it, it I don't want to say it ends the challenge of trying to spark up or make spontaneous things happen in your life, but it does sort of phase out the funness of your life the older you get.
Yeah.
And I think as a child, we get to really live in that for a long time, and then the older we get, we realize the reality starts to punch us in the face. But the more I think we can surround ourselves with people that kind of make us uncomfortable and continue to okay, show up again. You lost this time. It's okay. Whatever. Leave that in the past and show up again. Let's go tomorrow and do it again. Mm-hmm. More people like that in your life will definitely make an influence or make an impact. So that's why I found significance in that paragraph.
And a lot of the videos too that I listen to while I run, it's David Goggins, and he talks about how your mind wants wants you to be comfortable and safe. Mm-hmm. Right. And so when you find people around you, a lot of the times it's that mom voice, he says, with that mommy voice in your head, that's it's all going to be okay. Yeah. You don't have to do that. It's all going to be okay. That reinforces that mindset in your brain, especially when you get it from somebody on the outside, right? Oh, you don't need to do that. Let's just grab a pizza and drink some beers and watch the game.
Yeah. Kick back.
That person just reinforces the mommy voice inside your head, oh yeah, I guess I really don't need to, I'm just supposed to be comfortable,
Right.
So that is a really important one. I highlighted that same area too. So just a little bit further down, my favorite part, it's two paragraphs down from that. It says, in life, there is no gift as overlooked or inevitable as failure. I've had quite a few and have learned to relish them, because if you do the forensics, you'll find clues about where to make adjustments and how to eventually accomplish your task. So why this really stuck out to me is there's a video out there. I highly recommend you guys go watch it. It's called Principles by Ray DeLeo. I think many of us have seen it. Yeah, Principles by Ray DeLeo, and he talks about his 5-step process. I'll talk about 3 and 4, but go watch the video and come back to us. Tell us what you thought. By leaving a comment down below. So step 3, it is diagnose the problems and get to their root causes. Step 4 is design a plan to eliminate the problems. So my reasoning for why this was my favorite part is because I believe people simply blow through problems without processing the lessons we are meant to learn. So whether it's a breakup or failing an exam, or something as simple as not being able to make a 3-mile run, something like that. Mm-hmm. A lot of people don't take the time to do the AARs, like he was talking about in this chapter, the after action reports, to understand, okay, why did I fail this exam? Could I have studied more? Was there subject matter inside the chapter that I needed to do better? Taking that time to process and understand what could be improved, what I did well, how can I do better the next time is a big thing. And I think a lot of people, including myself, sometimes just kind of blow through it and don't
Like take the time.
take that time.
Like analyze.
And without doing that, the next time you come around, you're bound to do the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Definitely.
That's
I
true.
believe in that.
All right. How about you, David?
My favorite part, honestly, this is my favorite chapter, by the way. The first time I picked up to read this chapter, I just was so enticed that I read the whole thing in one sitting. But my favorite part specifically is just when he beat the pull-up record by Stephen Hyland. Man, I was just reading it and it made me really want to see, because my initial goal this year was to be able to just hit 20 pull-ups in one workout or one consecutive sitting. And this man did 4,030 fucking pull-ups. Like,
Oh
what?
my God.
Like, it just makes me want to push myself and push through failure. You know, he tried it twice.
Mm-hmm.
So he did like 2,000 something the first one, and then the next one was like
3,200.
Yeah. So, dude, you know, it just makes me really want to push myself. And I liked when he hit the one pull up that beat the world record. He kept going because he was composed, and he actually did more. He did 4,030 pull ups, and then as soon as he was done, he looked and said, "I tracked you down, Stephen Hyland." Like, he just, like a boss, did it.
Yeah.
You know.
Did he beat the Guinness World Record, or did he just?
It was beat a couple times after that.
Yeah.
But he did beat it for like that time. And I really like the part at the end of the where that page is. I'll just read the last paragraph. So, unlike my initial shot at the record, my success barely made a ripple in the news cycle, which was just fine. I wasn't doing it for adulation. I raised some money, and I learned all I could from that pull-up bar. After logging more than 67,000 pull-ups in 9 months, it was time to put them in my cookie jar and move on. Because life is one long motherfucking imaginary game that has no scoreboard, no referee, and isn't over until we're dead and buried.
Damn.
Yeah. Sheesh.
The boy got away with words.
Yeah, for
Yes,
sure.
he does. Yeah, this book's been highly inspirational. All right. How about you, John? What was your favorite part and why?
Before I get to that, it's funny, David, reading this chapter, the pull-up thing, I thought about you and like your goal last year. And I like how, I think he mentions the first guy to ever run a mile under 4 minutes, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Just people doing great things. You're like, okay, my goal is achievable. Like, these guys can do this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's cool. My favorite part of the chapter was it started 303. It's when he starts talking about he's daydreaming about passing the Delta selection because he just got to his 5th point.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's just got to make it back to like where the Humvees are at, and he's just daydreaming. And then he passes somebody, and they're like, "We got 6 points," and he's like, "Oh shit!"
Yeah.
And at the very end, on page, I think it's 305, one of the guys in the Humvees, because there's 2 of them. One sends you back to home base, the other one keeps you moving forward.
Yep.
He's like, "Goggins, what the fuck are you doing here?" One guy asked him. He was shocked to see me sitting alongside him. So like, they're in the group that failed.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I didn't do what they told me to do." I said, "I fucking deserve to go home." Like, he was like, "This shit all my fault," you know?
Yeah.
So I just thought it was cool, you know, like he always took responsibility for what he was doing.
Yeah.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
admirable.
Yeah, I think on that next page too, he says, "I'm going home because I lost focus."
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And like, I think we can all think of a time when we were super close to success, and then we just were like, it's like the guy who like stops running at the very end of the race, and the person behind him passes him during that like split
Right.
second, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, if I would have just stayed focused, I could have done that shit.
Right,
Yeah.
dude. Yeah.
Definitely.
Seriously. Yeah, that was really good. I really enjoyed this chapter, man. It was cool.
But
So I'll run a quick summary of it. Maybe not so quick, but I got a summary here. This chapter begins on September 27th of 2012 on the second floor of the 30 Rockefeller Center. A makeshift gym had been created for Goggins to attempt to break the world record for the most pull-ups in 24 hours. He was on a quest, for 2 things. One, to raise money for the Special Operations Warriors Foundation again, and to break the record of 4,020 pull-ups. In Goggins fashion, he broke it down to the minute. To break the record required 6 pull-ups per minute, and the 6 months leading up to his challenge, he'd done a minimum of 40,000 pull-ups in preparation. This was his next big challenge after finally receiving his second heart surgery, this one finally being successful. He states, "I needed this in order to remain in the SEALs." He had to accept a non-deployable, non-combat job. Admiral Winters kept him in recruitment another 2 years. And finally, after 4 total years of recruitment and being on the recruitment list, Goggins was medically cleared, and Admiral Winters offered to send him wherever he wanted to go. And Goggins stated he had unfinished business with Delta Selection. So once again, he landed in Appalachia on a mission. Goggins was impressive, focused, and delivered in his whole course, throughout the whole course. On the second to last day, all things were following the same trend until Goggins turned off his conscious mind and started daydreaming ahead. He began thinking and visualizing, excelling in the final exam, and being in an elite unit again. While this is all happening, he is traversing large distances of land using navigation skills to reach destinations in allotted times. While Goggins was daydreaming and performing in autopilot, he ended up way off track and almost out of bounds. He didn't check his map or place backstops, so he corrected course and was headed for his 5th destination with 40 minutes to spare. On a typical day, they had to reach 5 destinations, but on this day, the day before the final, there were 6 destinations. Due to Goggins' detour and loss of focus, he had 2 options. One, to play by the rules and not make the time, or break the rules by using roads and giving himself a chance. He believed Delta would appreciate a soldier willing to do what it takes to meet the objective. So he skirted the woods and used the roads and made time by 1 minute. Would he be successful and make it to the next day? Goggins shares, at Delta Selection, one way to be sure you're out is if you feel speed bumps after a day's work. They mean you're back at base and you've headed home early. And that day, in the back of the truck, Goggins felt speed bumps and knew he was headed home early. It was what he expected. If you daydream even for a split second on the battlefield, that could mean your life and the life of one of your fellow soldiers. Goggins shared with one of the other early exiters, "It was my mistake. I got this far by staying focused and by delivering my best, and I'm going home because I lost focus." This meant it was time to go back to being a SEAL, where he worked SEAL delivery vehicles. During that time, Goggins began to get dizzy during his runs, and a knot he noticed in the back of his head after buds had doubled in size. So he went to the doctor to have it checked. Good news was it wasn't a tumor or malignant. Bad news is Goggins had to put down running for a while. Looking for a new challenge, Goggins gravitated to the pull-up bar. And after a while, Googled records that were within reach. That's where he discovered Stephen Hyland's many pull-up records, including the destined 4,020 in 24 hours. Goggins called the Special Operations Warrior Foundation and asked if he could raise more money, and next thing he knew, he was booked on the Today Show to attempt the challenge. The day came when Goggins appeared on the Today Show, and the interview was brief, which was followed by the pull-up challenge. He began, but even the first few pull-ups felt off. This was for 2 reasons. One, he was a lone fish in a glass aquarium being pumped with show lights. Second, was technical. The pull-up bar had a lot more give than he was used to. At first, he blocked it out, but the looser bar meant he had to give a stronger effort and gave him another opportunity to be uncommon. After 6 hours and 2,000 pull-ups, Goggins took a break and was well ahead of the pace, but instead of recharging his system, the 10-minute break had an adverse effect. His body began shutting down on him. He pushed on, but once he reached 2,500 pull-ups, he could barely lift his arms to the bar. And just like that, it was over. He failed in front of millions of people. And the next day, he left his phone in his hotel room and went for a run. It was time for some self-reflection, or as he calls the process, AARs, after action reports. Through AARs, he would analyze what he did right through his failure, what he did wrong, his mindset, what could be improved, and so forth. It was a foregone conclusion he would attempt this record again. And for his second attempt, Goggins ditched the glitz and glamour and set up shop in a dark, sweaty dungeon of a CrossFit gym in Nashville, Tennessee. The bar was steady and of the right height. Things were running smoothly for almost 4 hours, and around 1,300 pull-ups, his hands began to blister. He pushed on to over 3,200 pull-ups when he removed his gloves to the sight of raw hamburger meat as hands. With that, Goggins, his mother went to the hospital. He and his mother had an exchange while in the ER waiting room. David's mom. Well, I know one thing. After a long pause, David looked at his mom. What's that? You're going to do this again, she replied. And she wasn't wrong. He was already doing AARs in his head to find leverage for his third attempt. And 2 months after that, he was back on the pull-up bar in Nashville, Tennessee. At the 600 rep mark, Goggins began playing Going the Distance on a loop from Rocky. And it was at that point something clicked, and he went into full cyborg mode, as he puts it. He found a rhythm, and he had tunnel vision as he prepared for the hell to come. He was ready, but that doesn't mean he was having fun. He didn't want to do pull-ups anymore, but achieving goals or overcoming obstacles doesn't have to be fun. After 12 hours, he hit 3,000 pull-ups and took a short 4-minute break, followed by decreasing pace to 4 reps per minute, then 3, when he found his cyborg trance again. He went dark, and he got ugly. And after 17 hours of pain and agony, he did his 4,000th, 30th pull-up, and finally broke the record, which brings us to challenge 10.
Yes, sir. Phenomenal summary of the chapter, as always. So let me pull up challenge 10 real fast. I think for the next book, I'm probably gonna order a physical copy.
Yeah?
Yeah, I miss holding an actual book.
Oh, yeah, I bet, dude.
You didn't buy. What are you reading it on?
Kindle.
You have a Kindle? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have can you see it? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a little digital thing. So here's challenge 10. Think about your most recent and your most heart-wrenching failures. Break out that journal one last time. Log off the digital version and write them out longhand. I want you to feel this process because you're about to file your own belated after actions report, the AARs that he refers to in the chapter. First off, write out all the good things, everything that went well from your failures. Be detailed and generous with yourself. A lot of good things will have happened. It's rarely all bad. Then note how you handled your failure. Did it affect your life and your relationships? How so? How did you think throughout the preparation for and during the execution stage of your failure? You have to know how you were thinking at each step because it's all about mindset, and that's where most people fall short. Now go back through and make a list of things you can fix. This isn't time to be soft or generous. Be brutally honest. Write them all out. Study them. Then look at your calendar and schedule another attempt as soon as possible. If the failure happened in childhood and you can't recreate the Little League All-Star game you choked in, I still want you to write that report because you'll likely be able to use that information to achieve any goal going forward. As you prepare, keep that AAR handy. Consult with your accountability mirror and make all necessary adjustments. When it comes time to execute, keep everything we learned about the power of the callous mind, the cookie jar, and the 40% rule in the forefront of your mind. Control your mindset. Dominate your thought process. This life is all a mind game. Realize that and own it. And if you fail again, so be it. Take the pain, repeat the steps, keep fighting. That's what it's all about. So he goes on, right at the end of that is you could share your story on social media and then with your friends or family. But I think honestly too, I think that's what kind of calluses or instills change in your mind is you sharing it with people, sharing it with your friends or family, even if it's not on social media.
Yeah, because if you go public with it, then you fail public if you don't do it. Mm-hmm. And who wants to fail in public in front of people on a stage, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. So the way we're breaking this down is into 5 parts. So what is the failure? What are some good things that came from it? How did you handle that failure? How were you thinking throughout the process? Before, during, after. List the things you can fix. Do you plan on making an attempt? And if so, when? Okay. So let's start with John. So
Okay.
go right ahead. What was your failure? And then go ahead and go about
So
those questions.
I was just thinking most recent, and what popped in my head was that over the weekend I played a couple games of 21 with like a coworker, and both times like the first game it was a super close game. I think I lost by 3. Got win by and then the next game I tied it up to 21. He had gotten to 20. And I made it 21, and I thought I won. I was like, "Fuck yeah, dude!" And then he's like, "Got win by 2," and I just could not clutch. I couldn't finish, dude. And that happens to me all the time. Jay, you play ball with me all the time. I feel like that last moment where like it matters, I always fall short. So it made me think about that. Okay. Some good things that came from that failure. I don't know. It was fun playing ball. I'm happy I got to play some basketball.
Yeah.
So how did you handle it?
The failure. If you feel like you failed yourself, but obviously it's like a.
I mean, I was just like disappointed. I could have won. Could have won both games.
So what's going through your mind? I remember playing ball with you. You move at 100%. I'm sure your brain moves just as fast. So what was going on?
I think I just need to calm down, focus up, and that's it with a lot of my things.
Yeah.
So it's very, very broad.
Yeah. Go with the left too, man.
I was doing that more. I've been practicing. I've been practicing at the gym.
There
You can see me.
All right. Is there anything you can fix about your game?
Slow down my mental. Do more left.
Do more left.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. And the last one, do you plan on playing again? And if so, when?
For sure. Maybe this weekend.
This weekend. All right. Man, I miss playing ball, dude. Nobody wants to play anymore.
I know. I'm happy I found something to play ball with.
Hell yeah.
So.
All right. How about you? You know what? I'll go next. So my failure that I'm going to be mentioning today, it isn't super heart-wrenching like Goggins asked, but it's more recent, right? It's probably the most recent one I've been dealing with. So there's a failure that I've been going through every single week for the past 2 weeks at the climbing gym. There's a route that's a 510C, and I'm not foreign to 510C routes, but this one has some aspects to it that I just cannot get, right? There's crimps, which are these tiny.
Bouldering or top roping?
Top roping, right? So there's an overhang, right? So that means it's coming back out. So you're upside down on the wall. And then to get over that overhang, there's like little crimp grips. So you have to like grab onto them with like the very tips of your fingers and pull yourself up. And so I just cannot get that. And so I've gotten stuck in the same place the last 2 visits in a row. And I've attempted it like over and over and over. Stopped, took a break, over and over and over just to get this route, right? And so I'm like, every time I get back down, I like, okay, there's things I need to change, right? So I got to run AARs. So through the AARs, I figure out, okay, what's some good things I'm doing about this route? So what good things came out of this failure, right?
Right.
So the lead up to the crux, meaning the hardest part of the route for me, I have practically memorized it, right? I can do the moves in my head right now and get to that point that I keep failing at. And I could do it fast, right? I can do it fast. I can move quickly enough to minimize how much energy is burned until I get to that point.
Right.
Right. And I've also learned about what I need to work on. Right. I have a weakness with overhangs, and that's because my core strength ain't all that, and my forearms are still developing in terms of climbing.
Nice.
Right. So how did I handle that failure? Getting to that point, I got pissed off, dude. I'm not even gonna lie to you. I was pissed. Like, I would take a break on that spot. I get to that spot, I'd attempt it, and I'd be like, all right, I can't. And so I'd like lay off, and Cam would leave me there to hang for a second.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there like, it's fucking, you know what I mean? Just getting pissed. And so I have a bet going on about, climbing whoever can do the highest grade. And so, I have this whole other thing in the back of my head, like, I got to get this by this time. I got to get this by this time. So what I do now is I come down and I stare at that spot and I try to picture different alternative routes or methods that I can use to get past this one point, right? Because once I get past that point, there's no more overhang. I could just climb up. It's just a vertical wall at that point.
Yeah.
And so I get down and I study the route for new methods. So what can I fix? So I need to work on my crimp confidence. So that's these little tiny holds, little ones. They're like, you guys know, the little ones that you get the little fingertips on. I got to work on overhang proficiency. So how well I can climb upside down. So it takes more skin off your hands. It takes more core strength. It takes more forearm strength, right? I need to work on conditioning and climbing. So just getting tired on the wall, right? You climb and at a point you're just like, right? You just get tired. You guys have been climbing, you know what it is. Yeah. And so I can work on my crimp confidence by the hangboard wall. So there's this wall of boards on there that have different depths that I can hang on and kind of practice that motion, getting good at that. And I could practice overhang proficiency on the bouldering wall. There's walls that you climb literally upside down. Some of them aren't super difficult, so you can just get really good and efficient on those walls. Mm-hmm. And I can improve my climbing conditioning by timed runs on routes, so that aren't as difficult. So like the top roping walls, maybe do a 5-10A and just dust it, right? Just go as fast as you can, get back down, give yourself a minute, do it again, and just like get conditioned through doing it repetition, And then, so what's my mindset before? My mindset before is like, I'm gonna do this, right? There was at one point, I was like, all right, I want Cam to belay me because I'm gonna like literally launch my body at this hold, because there's one hold above these little cribs that if I can grab it, I'm on. You know what I mean? So I'm like, you guys got to be ready for me, because I'm gonna throw my body up there to get it. And so before I'm usually like, all right, I'm psyched up, I'm ready to go. As I'm doing it, I don't know, my mind's kind of blank in terms of, other than like, I got to just get this, right? Afterwards, after the failure, I'm kind of pissed off, and I just want to be like, just like some people on the ground will be like, yeah, try that one. And then I'm like, dude, so let's just be quiet. You know what I mean? Let me figure this out. Let's just be quiet. So I get back down to the ground and I'm like, let's just be quiet. And I just stare at that area and just try to figure out new routes. Yeah. And so, do I plan on making another attempt? You're damn right I'm going to make another attempt. I'm going to make another attempt tomorrow night, the 19th of October, and I'm going to get it. You're going to get it tomorrow? I'm going to fucking get it, dude. I'm going to fucking get it.
Yeah, do it.
Whether I fall off the wall or not, I'm going to fucking get it.
It's just a regular climb. It's not where you have to latch yourself on and
no lead climb.
Yeah.
No, it's top rope. So you tie yourself in and somebody blaze you from the bottom as you're climbing. So on one of my tries, I freaking like boom through. I tried to throw myself up there and I just could not grab it. And it was like Cam caught me. I was like, holy shit, dude, that was so scary. But, like, I have to get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
you'll get there.
I'll
keep doing it. Yeah.
Tomorrow I'm gonna get it.
Yeah. If you memorize the route and everything already, like it's only a matter of time before you're like just blazing up through it and be like, holy shit, I just did it, but it didn't feel like
and
you know, it's only one move too.
It's one move, and then from there I haven't passed that part, so I don't know.
I feel like you'll be in the zone, like you'll just get it.
Oh yeah, like Aurora did it in first try, and she came down. She's like, "Yeah, that was pretty easy." I was like, He's gonna shit on me like that, huh? Like, damn. You see me?
Aurora's good at that shit.
She's good.
She's really good.
Cam too, man. They're really good.
So I'll go with my challenge, just to give context behind, like little sort. So mine is sort of along the lines of Jay's, a hobby or like a side thing that I do, day trading the foreign exchange market. And I'm going through a prop firm right now that offers a challenge to become a funded trader. And they also have a challenge where you can trade live money, where you can start immediate. They'll give you, so I started with a $2,000 account. If you reach 10% of any profit after the $2,000, so you start with $2,000 and you grow it to $200, you move up at a level to a $4,000 account. And they have it all the way up into like $300,000, where you can work your way up like a step process. And so I started the account doing phenomenal. I hit 10% on the first day. Like I took 2 trades and I hit 10%, and I kept trading it because it's not like a time thing. You can request your payout and you request your level up whenever you want. So if you want to stay on the $2,000 account and just continue to trade that forever, you can. But I wanted to work my way up to like the $300,000 challenge. However, I got stopped short due to getting when your trades go against you and they're live trades, it's called drawdown, meaning you're negative in the positions, and when you close them, it's a loss. And so they only allow you to go in a loss for 5%, and I hit that 5% mark by like 30 cents. So, but it's still, you're not allowed to go below that. And I recognize what happened. I just held positions too long and didn't stop earlier. But I did. So the payment was, I think, like $100. I made more than $100. So I made my money back and I threw it in like a crypto, like a coin. So my money it's just sitting in crypto. So I made my money back from even purchasing the challenge. So I think I would say the most beneficial things that I learned in this failure is that I recognize that I'm succeeding at this. I recognize that even if it's a tiny baby step and I took out $400 $300 profit, and like $300 is like a car payment for me. You know what I mean? I don't know anybody else, but for me, like that's like I could pay my car payment. I can pay bills. I can pay, and that's what I want from my trading, and I'm finally seeing that stuff. But for now, I just do it in crypto because I might want to do the challenge again. But I want to reanalyze and really make sure that I can do it and grow it to at least 10,000, 20,000, 30,000.
Hey, I just have a question just to make sure like I understand exactly what you do.
Uh-huh.
So you pay $100, you pay $100, and then you have access to $2,000 that you're allowed to trade. But with that $2,000, the catch is you can't go under 5% of the total of $2,000.
Correct. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And then anything after the $100 that you make in profit with the $2,000 that you paid for, does it work for that day or for like that week? How's that work?
No, so there's no deadline on the account, and then there's no time frame on how fast you need to hit that profit target or how slow you hit the drawdown. You lose 5%.
How often do you have to pay the $100 to be access that $2,000?
It's one time. You just pay $100 and they give you the live account.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's really they test people's risk management. They want to know if you're a good trader or you're just a trader that's placing large ass lot sizes and risking all of the 5% in one trade. You know what I mean? I had the account for like a month and a half. But what I'm recognizing within myself is I'm holding trades for too long, especially that I know that I'm an intraday trader and I'm holding trades that I'm risking 1%, and I hold it for too long and it goes into like 3.5%. And it's like now I'm eating at what I've told myself that I'm not supposed to be doing.
So how did you handle that?
Okay.
So how did I handle the failure? So what I've done is I'm not purchasing the account yet. Because I want to go through the live. I want to prove that like I don't need a lot of money to make a lot of money. I can start with $100 and grow it to 10,000. I know I can do it. I think it's the psychology behind this. So what I'm doing now is I'm focusing on fundamentals. Because there's a lot of stuff that's not technical anymore. Because there's a lot of things that are being moved in the space of the FOMC and the federal interest payments, not payments, but the interest rates for the federal government. All of this stuff is influencing these trades and influencing the way the market's moving. So I need to know how these fundamental news sources or news outlets are affecting it and pushing price in a specific way before I get into trades, or just don't trade news at all and wait until the news is over, then get into trade and start trading. So that's what I recognized when I failed this is there was a lot of stuff coming out, such as, because you can see economic news events to the days prior. So I recognize I need to learn more about fundamentals. I need to learn a lot more about fundamentals. How I was thinking through this process is fear. Like I don't want to lose the account. I don't want to lose the account. Like I don't want to lose the account. And then that fear goes into like if I have a trade open, I'm holding it like, oh, it's gonna reverse right now. It's gonna reverse. It's gonna reverse. It's gonna reverse. Right? That fear playing into me holding trades longer and recognizing that I'm not sticking to my plan. I'm not sticking to my strategy, and then hitting that 5%. Now the account's gone. So I think that, so these programs are testing people that want a lot of capital with a little bit of money up front, a small deposit, but you have to prove that you're a serious trader. You're not trying to get rich overnight and put your whole account on one trade. So that's why I want to be a disciplined trader. I want to have trading as like a real source of income. If it becomes something more than that, then awesome. If I can develop my own thing and build something from that, that'd be phenomenal. But I'm still focused on my own plan and my own strategy and my psychology.
So do you plan on making another attempt?
Absolutely. I don't know when. I don't know exact absolute date, because I told myself if I failed this challenge, I'm not just going to throw another $100 because I failed it for a reason. You know what I mean? I didn't just fail because I hit the five. Like, there's specific things, or psychology, or the technical analysis, or the fundamentals, news. There's something that I'm not understanding to where I should have got to 10K or 5K or 4K, because I moved up one level. And once I hit that level, they paid me out my first payment, and I'm working on the $4,000 account, and then I lost it. So there's something that's not clicking, if it's my strategy, if it's not profitable enough, or it's when I'm trading.
Did you drop technical altogether and just move with fundamental?
No. So my technical hasn't been dropped 100%. I kind of just pulled back from it a little bit, because staring at the charts all day, it's not going to get me anywhere. I recognized that a long time ago. So I need to learn about news. I need to learn about real economic, you know what I mean, like information, where if something comes out about the Japanese yen, of the federal government or their government doing something that affects the Great Britain pound and their relationship, I can coherently understand it.
So you're doing currencies?
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's currently right now. I'm not looking to do another attempt. I do have a challenge that I'm doing for our business, so I'm kind of focused on that right now. It's a different challenge, but it's sort of the same concept.
Okay.
So.
Hell yeah. All right. That's really interesting.
Yeah.
How about you, David? What was your failure?
Right. So for mine, I recently, my little brother wasn't doing so hot in school, and he was, just very careless in his, teenage, just turning in homework and trying to be funny, and then getting caught up and already having a failing grade. You know what I mean? And I think I failed in how I handled the situation, because there's a lot of moving parts to it with, my mom and just stuff that's happening at home. And then this was like something else to deal with that shouldn't have probably happened, but I reacted in a way that I think sort of damaged how responsive he's been lately, and the relationship. And it's like, it's better than it was, you know what I mean? I apologized for it, and I think that kind of reached him, but still it's a little weird, and I recognize that the failure was how I handled it and how I reacted to it, because I think the emotions were too high at the moment. So, yeah.
Reflecting on it, how did you handle that once you decided it was a failure? I called you. I talked to all of you to sort of get some outside perspective and kind of seeing like how I could fix this situation. I talked to other friends who have younger siblings, and especially, friends of mine who have younger brothers who are in that same sort of situation. And it's like what John had told me, you know what I mean, that being an asshole to your brother isn't really going to do anything. And I had to get outside of my head and realize that he's a teenager, and it's just there's just so many things going on. Like, he's a teenager, hormones going crazy. He's just trying to be funny in school, and right now he doesn't really have any value at home. So he's just doing his thing, Mm-hmm. We're lame, he's cool. No, but just really trying to think in terms of how I can learn from other friends of mine who have younger brothers and who are in the same situation as me,
and learning like what do they think they could have done to handle it the proper way, and moving forward, what's my initial reactance, and then taking that little space between that if it does happen again, which there's going to be more things, but how do I navigate through that?
Okay.
You know.
So tell me what was going through your mind before, during, and after. Sounds like you were kind of angry in the beginning.
Before kind of went off on him. Yeah, I was heated, man. Because I was on the phone previously with my mom, and I had other stuff going on that week, and I just had to deal with it while I was working, and then had to sneak in my 2 cents to tell Daniel, and kind of like, just the way I handled it wasn't cool. And he was just kind of thinking it was a joke too, which probably thought it was a joke, but it was like I was just upset, you know.
Mm-hmm. How about during, when you were talking to him?
During, yeah, definitely
Same
upset.
thing?
He's
Mhm.
upset.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then afterwards, I was like even more upset. But then after I had calmed down a little bit, I realized that maybe I should relax a little bit and then just kind of be real with him and apologize. And then, yeah.
So in the next situation, what are things you're going to fix?
Really finding out if I'm even in the mood to sit down with him, or talk to him if I'm like heightened on emotion, you know what I mean? If I just got off the phone with my mom and there's like heightened things in the air to deal with, I should probably take a second to take a deep breath, really think about how should I communicate properly to him and consider what he's going through, and is it the right time and space to even have that conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And then next time just realize that we're just different, and I gotta realize that he's a teenager and he's growing up.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah,
That's
Dude.
that's the weirdest part.
that is hard.
Just to touch on that, like one of the most annoying things for me is like, let's say something happens or something big in my life happens, and like I know it's a fucking big thing, right? Like, let me just think about it.
Yeah.
I hate when my mom and my grandpa and my aunt and like everyone wants to fucking tell me how to fucking do something. They're like, Johnny, and I'm like, hey, dude, I hear you. So, you know, when something happens to your brother, like you said, you don't have to jump in and give him your 2 cents, because I'm sure he's already like flustered enough, you know?
Yeah.
And it's kind of nicer to jump in after the dust settles and be like, hey, little bro, how could we have done that differently? You know, how could you have done that differently? Right?
Yeah.
You messed up and now mom's mad and look where you're at, you know? But when things happen, so much people trying to talk to you, you're like, ugh, leave me alone. You too, big bro, you know?
Yeah, teenagers are so arrogant too that even after the dust settles, like even with myself, with my situation, you could be like, how could you have done that differently? They'll be like, I don't want to do it differently. You know what I mean? Like they're just like, they don't get it. And like, I don't know, they're just a lot, you know?
Dude, I had a kid today, and one of my administrators came in to weld and actually maybe see how my class is doing, right?
Right.
And this kid who normally I have gotten him to do like well, he came in, wouldn't say a word to me, like nonverbal, okay?
Sheesh.
And I was like, Malcolm, are you gonna go ahead and change that to your clothes? And he would just be like, Malcolm, are you gonna participate today, buddy? I need you to get changed. And he would just be like staring at me, and I was like, Miss Badman, he's normally not like this. I don't know what to do, bro. Like, that's wild card.
Yeah.
He's fucking with me, dude. He knows I can't do anything. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, that's funny, yo.
X
And,
Factor.
Like, I just took it with a stride. I was like, all right, bet, bro. Like, that's cool too. Like, all right. Yeah, like you sit over there. I don't know what to tell you. And I was like, you know, like, kids are fucking weird, yo.
Hell yeah. So David, when the time presents itself, are you gonna make another attempt?
Yeah, totally. I think now I know to just use the tools that I've learned from that situation and apply them to the future situations, because there's gonna be more stuff coming. He's still got two more years.
Yeah, it's not if, it's when.
Yeah.
Remember your halt, man. Remember halt. All right. So I'm gonna kind of pivot us into. We were gonna talk this week about Challenge 8, week number 2. But in order not to be repetitive, moving into chapter 11, what we're going to do is talk about challenge 8, week 2 and 3. So what challenge 2 was is to develop, or challenge 8, week 2 was to develop an optimal schedule. So we'll discuss that next week, and we'll discuss how that's going upon the first week of its implementation. And so we'll update you next week on the changes we made, and how the progress is going and how we're holding ourselves accountable to that optimal schedule, because I think that might be the hardest thing to do, right? Because anybody can write it out on a planner. It's more about holding yourself accountable to that.
Yeah.
And so with that, I'm going to sign us off. Thank you so much for watching. This was another episode of Paradyme Podcast. We were discussing Can't Hurt Me, Chapter 10. What was the title of this bad boy? Titled The Empowerment of Failure. So we want to highly encourage you, pick up this book, man. It's been extremely inspirational to all of us reading it. And before signing off, we want to tell you, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the video, leave a comment down below. Tell us, like, if you're reading the book, what's your favorite part of this chapter? What's your favorite part of the book? We want to respond. We want to talk to you.
Go read some books.
Go to read some books.
We're almost done.
We are almost done. We got one more chapter. And make sure you look down in the description below. All our social media information will be down there. Follow us so we can be in contact with you. We may be having some merch coming out soon. I don't know. Maybe. So little giveaway action maybe. So we'll talk to you guys later. Make sure you guys remember the work you put in now equals who you will be tomorrow. Peace.